That's a really good question. And in our EFAI initiative work, it kind of briefly touches on it, but there's a broader thing that we try to do. And it's around one, going back to the mission of our neighborhood and our organization founding itself. So the CDC was founded in '95 by our local residents. So if we can't, as a CDC, let you see that our work reflects the means of, we set the expectation of guiding, engaging, and empowering not just the CDC for, maybe you think your development project may be for a new market tax credit. We were talking about that, right? Nope, that tax credit is to only help you see your funding redirected to help the people in that grassroots space, right? So we have that. There's a couple of things that we do as a whole. Building off of knowing the powers that may be from the institutional. A key activity we've been doing now is what we call the CEO Challenge. The CEO Challenge is making sure executives get out of the suites and into the streets. So 24 hours where we take a CEO. We've had like the past CEO of 16 Tech, IU Health, and some other like institutions. And for 3 Thursdays, we take what they may perceive of the neighborhood, and then we totally wrap their mind around a whole different mindset. Mm-hmm. So the first Thursday is us just saying, hey, see how we make our decisions. Our very first thing is come meet with our local community, come sit, engage, kind of like a shadowing aspect, and have those intimate conversations, right? And they're blown, and then we totally wrap their mind around a whole different mindset. Mm-hmm. So the first Thursday, and so they're blown away at the fact that, oh, what I see on the news isn't really what this community is, right? Also, too, that again, like that mindset is, it's not just kind of writing the check to say you're making an impact. Even if stuff internally within your organizations, oh, you have someone that does marketing. Oh, maybe you have someone that has an expertise about data. Can you come shadow? Can you see that your team is even helping build our everyday neighbor in grassroots capacity within our corridor? So that's one example. Secondly, to leverage projects, it's an everyday expectation. If they want community approval of their projects, we've set an expectation of a resident working group with every project. A good example we have is like our Monon 30 area. Monon 30, it's on the brink of a geographic line. We're not, from a housing lens, allowing anybody to be displaced. A good example that's come out of that is where there may be a TIF that may be approved, right? So that project had like a $15 million TIF. But we've already known, if we're educating our local community about this is what a TIF is, here's how you create a community benefit agreement. We're able to take their fears, and as a convener, we help translate that into how we make your better demands. That working group has been amazing. They've been meeting now for about a year and a half. And even the mindset and language about how the developer who's representing that collective has changed. And they understand what displacement means, right? And it's great to have benefits, but does it make sure that you're not propelling the fear that our neighbors can't be apart, right? As an example of that agreement, we have fighting protections. So the funds are actually allocated to help with, if there's property tax increases, those funds will be a relief pot. So they will have money to subsidize their property tax. Secondly, owner occupied repair, those funds have a geographic catchment around the neighborhood. So they can also feel like the preservation and pride, like that's for them. And that is a part of being at the table.
Let me get at Tom's question a different way.
Yes.
Liz, Anthem, Economics, and others have particular political and economic interests. They're not always in alignment with community interests.
Yes.
And when that happens, what experience have you had through that lens, and how do you best navigate when there's a difference of opinion?
Great question. So there's a couple elements that we do. We have a neighborhood president's council. And what we do is make sure any of the final things, our neighbors are part of the agreements and decisions. Also, we've helped mitigate various issues. But I think with the pulse of togetherness that we had even before they were there, we really capitalize off of, how do I best put it? You don't want the smoke, so you better see. And we then encourage more time of coming together to work through it. We have also like stakeholders that are developing, where there's also representative of the neighborhood that's a part of it. And being a part, we've been able to really mitigate a lot of stuff earlier on and actually find more participation into the approval process. One good example is when it comes to variances approvals for rezoning or something of that nature. Before, maybe we get like 1, 2, maybe 3 letters of support. We've seen even an increase of support or opposition. One, for example, had over 35 letters of support individually from the different groups to show their expectation and demand behind it. So trust me, we have it, but I think we catch the issues earlier and create the spaces that you honor first residents. And that's really kind of help mitigate things in the process. So I hope that helps.
Was that helpful, Tom?
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
I mean,
Follow the
Cook
bullet.
Medical, I mean, they're a multi-million-dollar international corporation, and the fact that you can use your community base to help nudge them in the right direction.
Yes.
I think that's an important piece for everybody here to realize that there is power within grassroots organizations.
And to that point, Cook Medical, so we have a listing of all ways organizations that maybe don't understand how they authentically engage. But Pete, for example, he attends every single neighborhood association meeting every month. So just to show the fact that it's being too conscientious that maybe they don't know how.
Mhm.
So creating it that, we want you here, but also to be aware that if we don't agree, because of the relationships we built, we were going to be more inapt to tell you we don't want this. So I hope that helps there, Tom. Yes.
Yeah, well, thank you. This has been, yeah, really good to hear about. This is a big project, and it's a lot of new stuff in it. So just appreciate you bringing that fully here.
Thank you.
I was wondering if you could just share a little bit more about your personal stories.
Oh, yeah.
Who is Ashley?
Yeah.
How did you get to what you're doing now? What you're passionate about?
Okay, yes, thank you for that. So a little bit of background. So I'm the baby of 5, adopted into this very diverse family. I mean, we say we kind of have the United Nations under one household, but with it helps, I think, early on cement the fact, like, dig a little bit deeper than what you see, maybe what's perceived, but let's get to that means of morality that all of us have, because the world around us may make us be apart, but we have to be strong as a unit and go a little bit deeper. That mindset has really kind of shaped like who I am as an individual. Kind of wrestling, just I think as a young adult, like I was around the age of 22 and like 23 really. I met my biological family. That was my fuel of trying to figure out my bigger why. That was also too around the time Trayvon Martin happened. And I finally was lit into something that really helped me see there's an administrative policy like strategy developed, and made me see that there should be, either from my mother's story, she's like, well, I had to give you up because the environment around me wouldn't support me being a full mother that I could be for you. to seeing the outcries of movements and stuff. I just was so curious, how do we help solve that? I had time working in constituent services. I liked it, but I'll be real, sometimes supermajority, the mindset that I have was very conflicting. So I, from a faith aspect, left to go help organize within the church as far as strategies. And then had the ability to go move a little bit macro into the area that is there. So a little background story as to why this is super passionate to me. Back to my mother, like giving me up because of the environment. I'm in the same community today that helped handle the adoption for Homes for Black Children on East 38th Street. That's the midway point. The church that made my parents give a long-term yes is on the other side of the tree line. Everything, there's so much glory. And then, don't get me wrong, we have our issues in our neighborhood, but there's so much pride in my thanks of helping us see that there are more yeses we can answer. So that's my story. And it just feels good. I got a little teary, a little goosebumps here, but hopefully you see like, that's the extra oomph into disrupting what is seen for our ability. And I know I can't answer everything, but if we can help others see their power, like I'll do anything and everything to make our area stronger. So thank you for that question. Thank you.
Is there a goal to replicate the fresh market in any other perceived food deserts?
Yes. Actually, a couple. I know at one time, but we want to honor again the invitation into other neighborhoods, right? Like we have to be very mindful, like what we do can't always be like, oh, this is what's going to work in your neighborhood. It's not an IKEA box, you see, and I struggle with them instructions, you know what I'm saying? But can we see that a part of that video, there's the IU Public Policy Institute. So they're doing their stuff. We have it, so there's kind of a compiling of like our toolkit, which we do hope to replicate. So yes, that is there, but we don't have to wait until it's done. Like, and I mean, why I gave you the email, my phone. If there's that need, I look at it, if our neighborhood's hungry, there are other neighborhoods hungry. And we're at access points, if we can help, like we want to be a part in whatever solutions and keeping that narrative going. So absolutely, yes. As you heard Marcus, and I kind of laughed, he's like, I want to be like the person in like Mr. Food, right? Like that's him. But it's because he knows that he wants to be able to help. The hope that we have two 36-year-old Black men. I won't get into their full story. This is their second chance to give back to the area that made them, right? That could be in any neighborhood. So just their means of how to connect is also too we're trying to capture and be a part. So yes, we want to be able to help in other neighborhoods as well.
Are there any other questions? Yes, sir.
I got a spot for you on the south side.
Okay.
When I was young, my mama helped, she very political in that area, but they took the Kroger's that she would just go, she wouldn't have, but she could have walked from her house to Kroger's. And it's been gone for 25 years.
Yes.
And so this sounds like, okay, well, get a fresh thing there, because it's completely, from my mother's perspective, it's completely food apartheid in that scenario. You know?
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, definitely a spot where the Kroger used to be on Raymond and Sherman Drive.
Yes, I actually know that area pretty well. So yes. And this is the other thing I can say. It doesn't have to be our Michael and Marcus. It can be your Michael and Marcus to the neighborhood. That's the beauty of how we're trying to capture it. So again, it can be replicated in an idea and framework, or it just can be that this is us just expanding what it means to be a good neighbor to one another in another part of the area. So we'll love to make sure to get you connected into the loop of it. Sure. So thank you for that. Yes, Tom? No, you're-
No, I just want to make an observation, the food space is so important because like with the Kroger proposed merger with Albertsons, that will control something like and dominate like 40% of the food in the country.
Yes,
And this is happening, the consolidation is happening all over, so it's very important to have local, independent markets that then can work cooperatively with each other, maybe as buying clubs or things like that. So I think this is really super important work for all of us.
yeah, and I'll even add on to that, Tom, the importance that with so many shifts going on, why is it that within our area, we have to depend on the wholesaler, the monopolizing the wholesaling, and then them to kind of dictate how they treat our neighborhoods when they show up? No, I'm sorry, I got one in my mind, like, bye. We want to convert that power from them to let you see why we're saying it by, again, handling out what we got in our own backyard, right? And so I really appreciate you just hitting up. Yes.
Yeah, I appreciate it, great presentation, and I appreciate your comment about, you know, the other, like, intersecting, like, issues, because to me, like, food is like the canary in the coal mine.
Yeah.
It's like when there's, lack of food access, there's gonna be a whole bunch of other structural mechanisms that are also at play, and so like I appreciate how you guys are figuring out like how they all go together, and food is the easiest way to organize the communities.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so like how to continue to build that momentum for the project. So appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you, and I appreciate the work you're doing there. I mean, to your point, food is something that keeps our, how we live. Food helps bring us together. I know some of the neighborhood are like, hey, if Mr. Webster provided the catering, I'm there, right? So the fellowship and the culture and the experience, like, it's so moving. So I really appreciate you recognizing that in our project work. It helps bring that, food can help bring a culture shift.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Were there any other questions?
And I'll say this, anytime invitation to come to the neighborhood, it's one thing to articulate it and then the time frame. It's a lot, you guys, right? It's a lot. But any invitation just to be a part, I want to extend that too. Because if there can be nuggets of your aha, a part of it, or things to be like, yo, that's not right. Their accountability in that invitation to help us make sure we can catch it early, and then us needing kind of like the Giga, pulling out parts, and then one day it all tumbles. We just don't want that. So thank you as well.
All right, so let's thank Ashley for her presentation. All right, so I'm gonna let you guys off for a small break while the food is being set up. When the food is set up, just have at it as you wish. We'll be back in here to start our next session at 1:30. Thank you, guys.
I know.
Yeah.